Welcome back to From the Poll to the podcast. I'm so happy that you guys are joining us again here today. And I am so excited to introduce my friend as my very first person on our podcast, our guest. Woohoo! Very first guest. I would like to introduce Sky. Sky, go ahead.
I'm Sky Teshnakov, trans femme, she, they, it. I'm here to talk about professional cuddling.
Yes. We're going to talk majority about cuddling today, but Sky does do other things, and I would love for you to tell everyone kind of what you do.
Well, I do the professional cuddling. I also do full service sex work. I'm kind of all over the place for all kinds of other things. I don't really have a thing. Music, art, martial arts occasionally, all kinds of stuff.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes, we were playing. You were playing. I said we. You were playing guitar, and
Yeah.
I was listening fondly. So let's kind of get into this.
Mhm.
How did you get into cuddling, sex work, or just anything in general?
I started out doing cuddling. I first learned about it years and years ago. I read an article online about a lady who had been doing it here in town.
Oh, okay.
And I was interested in it, but I never pursued it until after I had started transitioning. And then I got hurt working in a warehouse.
Oof.
And so I couldn't work, and I wasn't making enough money off of workers' comp. So I was like, oh, I might as well give it a try. And I just transitioned from normal people work, I guess, to doing that full time. And then from there, I started doing more sex work and all that.
So you make your entire living off of?
I do.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And
Mhm.
it's sustainable for you right now.
For now, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Everything is for now. It doesn't matter what kind of job you have. I know
Life
some
is
people are like,
temporary.
oh, I'll be at this job for 40 years. And I'm like, well, in 10, you can tell me if you'll still be at that job for 40 years. How about that?
Exactly.
Okay, nice. When it comes to your cuddling work, what is the most common asked question you get from people?
The most common one is whether or not I will do it topless. That is the most common one.
Okay.
For the most part, I'm pretty open to that.
Nice.
I try to keep pretty hard lines from cuddles and full service or anything because, price.
Yeah, there's money difference. That's definitely interesting. What do people outside of, people that you're working with, when you talk to other people, what do they ask?
Mostly what it entails and
what it looks like. They want to know
what it looks like, because it is pretty closely associated with sex work, even though there's no actual sexual transaction going on. It's all platonic intimacy. You're just there to help somebody relax, make them feel like they're calm, help people calm down. Human closeness is important. We humans are social creatures. We need physical touch.
And that's leading great, because my next question was, what do people want from these cuddles? What is it that they're looking for when they contact you?
They want closeness. They want someone there. They want my very first client was a guy who was going through a lot of hard times in his life. His mom was dying. He was struggling with addiction.
Wow.
All kinds of. He just wanted somebody to talk to, someone to be there and be close with him. And we saw each other for a few months before he stopped seeing me.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I would have to say, as I know that you did or will be going back to pole dancing at some point.
I'm trying to, yeah.
And I do it right now, and so I know that I've heard a lot of dancers where I work at even say that people will come in and pay them $100 to sit down for 3 songs and just cuddle in the back,
Yeah.
So I feel that very much. I've never experienced something that intense before, and I couldn't imagine the emotional load that you take on.
It is a lot.
Yeah. How do you deal with that?
I've always been naturally gifted in that kind of sense. I've always been there for people. It's always been something that I like to do for people. I did learn a lot of coping skills when I was an EMT.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, because when I take in their stuff, I have to go and find a way to release it for myself. And a lot of time I'll do some kind of exercise or meditation I like to go to the beach a lot to
Mhm.
just get away from things and
Yeah, really take care of yourself.
yeah.
Nice. So in that sense, do you feel like you enjoy this work then, especially as like a trans woman? I know you
Yeah.
said that when we talked last night that there's not a lot of trans women that you know of
Not that I
in the
know of.
cuddling industry. Yeah.
No. I don't think I've met any other trans women that are pro cuddlers. The big issue with that is um most of the time that's not what clients are looking for as far as cuddling.
Mm.
Um they just and I've had a lot of issues with that. I've had people try to shut down my page, report me to
Oof.
the people. It's like, oh, they're not expressing who they are. And like, you don't like it, don't fucking schedule with me.
Yeah. Just go away. Yeah.
Right.
Like any other business, you don't have to
Um
buy my services.
yeah, but I haven't met any other trans women, and it feels kind of weird being the only trans person that I know that does it.
Yeah.
I have had trans clients come to me though.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. I bet they feel a lot more safer with you
Yeah.
than with other people.
Definitely. There's less judgment,
The same kind of understanding of what you have to go through in life, and
Mhm.
yeah, wow, that's really awesome. Dang. Well, taking a break a little bit from that more
Less
feels,
intense. Yeah.
yes. I'm sure a lot of people would like to know what are your rates? What does it look like to be pricing your like a cuddling session?
Mhm. When I started at $80 an hour.
Wow.
And that's like kind of the standard that you'll see going around. My current rate is $100 an hour,
Mm-hmm.
and I do provide discounts for longer times, and I do have different kind of things that I do
Mm-hmm.
as well. Like if you want, I do couples. That's a little bit cheaper, but it's in the long run, it's more than a single person
Okay.
for an hour, but it's less per person. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then I also do overnights, but that's kind of spendy because
Right.
that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
And then I do public places, which is also cheaper.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So it really just depends, like
Like
which is
right.
great because it's going into my next question is where do you cuddle,
Hmm.
right? Because I'm sure there's lots of people like when it comes to sex work, they're like clearly that must be done somewhere very private, but
Yeah.
cuddling is something that you see in public spaces all the time with
Hmm.
people. So how does that feel? How does it work out?
Most of the time, I'm still in private spaces.
Okay.
A lot of my clients travel a lot, and they're just passing through town.
Okay.
So we'll go to their hotel. I've gone on dinner dates. I've gone to movies.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's just all kinds of stuff. I had one client just want to lay in a park with me while we talked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It almost sounds, it's like, it's one of those things when people talk to me about, pole dancing, they're always like, oh, that must be like really fun. You drink, you dance, you talk, you kind of like a party. And it's like,
Mhm.
I was just about to say, wow, that sounds like a lot of fun. And then I thought about my job and I was like, in a sense, like
In a
there's
sense,
in
yeah.
a sense, there's always like that fun part, but it's
Mhm.
like any job can be in a sense fun, right? You have the right kind of coworkers. It's going to be enjoyable to sit there and chat with them,
Exactly,
even
yeah.
if the work itself is kind of shit.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's funny that I was just about to ask that, and then my whole brain just answered it for me, and I was like, I don't even.
Yeah, and, like, I have had some bad clients.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah, then the bad people everywhere you go. It just
Yep,
does not even matter anymore.
yep.
And then what can other people get into this? You feel like it's an
Oh,
easy,
yeah.
you said that you kind of just found your way to it. So you
Mhm.
feel like even now still that it's an easy situation to get into, or
Yeah, it is easy.
uh
It's mostly the whole thing is just being conscious about your own boundaries.
right.
It's easy to get into, it's easy to get started. You just have to keep your boundaries for what you feel comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to give some tips and tricks or do's and don'ts for our
Um
audience? Most important top 5 maybe?
um be clear about what you will and will not accept. Is big thing
Mm.
right there cuz your clients will try to push for more,
Oh yeah.
and you have to be really firm with it.
Mhm.
Um and really persistent. You're very consistent and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Um Make sure you work out what you're doing and how you want to accept payment. what is expected to happen before you meet with them. What I used to do, I don't do it so much anymore, but what I used to do is I would have them send a picture of themselves to me
Oh, okay.
so I could see who I was meeting. And then I could also use that as a safety net because it's good to have a check-in person so somebody knows where you are and how long you're going to be there. And I'll send that information to my check-in person. So if I disappear, somebody knows where I was and who I was with.
Yes. Yeah. I have to do that with all types of any type of sex work. Honestly, that's just good sound advice. Very good. Even dancers is the first thing that, a lot of the dancers were telling me when I first started. They were like, just know your pricing, be firm with it. Don't step back. Like
They will try to talk you down.
And I've definitely been in a situation where I felt like I needed to like drop the price for people before, and it doesn't feel good when you have to feel good at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Like, this is a job that you're choosing to do. Like, you may as well feel good about the money you're making from it.
How much do you feel you're worth?
Yeah, and I think that's like another thing to talk about is like just self-worth in this, because we're friends, so we clearly know each other decently, but like I know that we're both neurodivergent. I know that we both deal with depression, and I have found in most dancers, sex workers, that is a very common thing to see from that industry is these people are typically more out loud about what it is that they're dealing with, or that they have problems and stuff, but also these people tend to be very confident in that. They're like, yeah, I'm working through a lot of things and I'm not okay today. And you're like, oh, okay. I had one friend, she's like, man, I just been wanting to die since I woke up. And I was
That's
like,
a mood.
Yeah, that is definitely a mood right there. So it's very interesting thinking about being assertive and being confident with a stranger or even a regular sometimes, because regulars will, if you don't get to know them well enough, will work you.
Regulars are the ones that are like the sneaky snakes. They're like, oh, we've been together, we've been doing this so long, maybe a discount is in line. I'm like,
you're like, that's kind of my job to tell you that there's a discount, not really for you to be asking me for it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Nice. So going on with this, talking about customers, what is your safety protocols for specifically cuddling?
What do you mean? Like, how do I stay safe?
Yeah.
Well, I do the check-in person. They always know where I am. They have some idea of who I'm meeting, how long I'm going to be there.
Right.
And those are all very important things. But in the moment, like I said, I've been in martial arts most of my life.
Yeah.
So I'm very adept at protecting myself. Have something. I mean, you don't have to have it on your person the whole time because obviously that's going to take away from the experience.
Right.
But have something like in your purse, in your bag, something. Like I always have a knife with me. I've never needed it, but
good.
I always have it. But some kind of basic self-defense class would be good too.
Yeah. Since I've been looking into, I think I researched doing dancing and sex work for continuously a year, like every month I do a little bit more work in life, it takes up. But it was one of the first things that I thought about was like, okay, I know that the biggest people that are at risk for being harmed are people in the sex industry. Doesn't matter which area, whether you're in a bar dancing or you're out on the street, wherever it may like puts you, you are going to be a target. Whether you're trans, whether you're a woman, it doesn't matter. Like, if you're in the sex industry, you're a target. Your rate of chances of being taken or killed have gone up dramatically. And so I was actually approached when I started dancing with somebody who was starting a self-defense classes specifically for people in sex industry. That's awesome. And I thought that was absolutely amazing. So I've been kind of following them, waiting for a class because I'm a more hands-on learner, so I need
Yeah.
a physical class, not like an online
Yeah.
class, and I've been kind of waiting for those to come up. But I've done kickboxing classes before, and it's not something that I tend to stop doing. Is trying out different types of
Yeah.
like martial arts and stuff and finding the one that I like to do. So, I know a lot of other dancers who have done a very similar thing. I think that's probably a common thing in just sex work itself.
It's important for it.
Yeah, yeah. But one thing I did not ever think about until actually I met you was like thinking about bringing like a knife or spray and stuff, because I've always thought about, you send out the person's name, get an image of them, share them with someone that you trust that knows that if you don't show up or don't message them within a certain time, they'll know that like something's bad's
up. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I remember going on like my first date with a client, right? They take me out, we talk and see if it's gonna
Yeah.
see if we're on the same page. And I was very nervous. The guy is like half my size and 3 times my age, but I was still very nervous because I was like, you never know who he could know or who could be watching
Yeah.
him, or you know.
And that's a risk too. You don't know if it's just them or if there's somebody waiting with them.
Yeah. And so especially you being trans, I could only imagine what it's like to meet somebody for the very first time. Do you always pick like a public place to meet people first time?
It depends on what we're doing. For cuddle stuff, I'm less likely to, because I can hide being trans easier that way if need be. If I don't feel safe with somebody that I've been talking to, if I do decide to meet them still, I won't tell them that I'm trans.
For safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if I feel safe enough with them, I have no problem telling them.
Right.
With full service, I have to tell them because
Right.
obviously.
That's how that works.
But for full service, I always meet in a public place first.
Okay, nice. That's very huge. So talking about like meeting with people, I know that we talked a little bit about you talking about cuddling communities, which is something I did not know was even a thing, which makes complete sense. I mean, we have stripper groups.
Yeah.
Like I know there's sex worker groups, so I'm like, of course there should be cuddling communities. What has been your experience with those?
We're not a whole lot of like in person. We have a lot of online connection to each other. There's a few different sites that you can use for cuddling, and I've never had issue talking with other cuddlers, professional cuddlers. If I have questions, like some guy messages me wanting to schedule, and they're like, "Oh, well, I've cuddled this person," and I'll go to that person and I'll check with them. It's like, "Hey, this person's trying to cuddle with me. Can you give me a little rundown what it was like for you?" Yeah.
Okay.
So,
That's really nice. Yeah. Because in the club we kind of like do the same thing, like even like nights or regulars and stuff. Like if someone's been talking to me, I'll like go over to someone that I know has been there and worked with them before, and I'll be like, "Hey, so they said like these things is kind of sketchy. What's your feel on them?" They're like, "Oh yeah, they talk weird," but you know what I mean?
yeah,
So
same thing.
I feel that. Have you had like any bad experiences with any groups, or like any groups that you would suggest people not to start with for like cuddling community if they're looking for a group to go and chat with and talk with to see?
The site I use that works best is called Cuddle Comfort.
Okay.
Um,
Cuddle Comfort.
yeah, it's the
Cute.
biggest one, and there's several others, but they're not nearly as good.
Okay.
Most of my business comes from Cuddle Comfort,
All right.
and the site's really well built for connecting to people. Like I've met people in Florida, New York, California. A lot of people
Wow.
in California,
I believe that.
and then some people even over into the UK.
Wow. Dang. Even in the UK. That's a really cool. I feel like that's a little unique to like sex work from what I know. You meet people at the bar. Sometimes they have accents, but they're people that have lived here in the U.S. for most of their life. They came here as kids or something, or, so you don't really get people from like, just coming over from another country like that. So that's really cool that you get to experience that. Are they normally good? Like even from over, or is it normally they are expecting something different from what people expect here?
It's relatively the same.
Okay, that's good. It would be pretty crappy if like the the idea of what a cuddling was supposed to be was very different
Yeah,
from.
it'd be tough to navigate for sure.
So do you have friend cuddlers then, or do you specifically keep them just for online?
As far as clients go, if I meet you through a cuddling capacity, through a professional capacity, it's gonna stay that way.
Okay.
You're if we meet through cuddling, you're not welcome in my personal life. It's just I have to keep that line.
Makes sense.
And the same with full service, and I try to keep cuddling and full service separate too, because it's different prices, and I've had a lot of people want to switch over, and I've only done it 1 or 2 times. And the reason why they want to switch over is because they think my cuddle rate, oh, it's this, so maybe I can continue that rate while getting more. And it's just not going to happen.
Right. So I think that's perfect. That kind of moves us into like what I wanted to talk next about, which was overlapping of, because you know you're like, I do all these other like a bunch of little things. How do those overlap? I know we talked a little bit about like cuddling not really overlapping. Do you experience like that same thing with cuddling with all the other things you do? Like normally if someone's in one thing, you just kind of, that's what they're in. That's like what they're for you.
No, not really. Like my personal life is my personal life.
Of course.
That's all just a big old blur. You know, music, art. You know, if I make a connection with you on a personal level in a personal capacity, whatever you want to do.
Okay.
But in professional capacities, those stay professional.
Okay. So all the things anyone's like any sex work that you do, it's not, you don't like mold, they don't mold over for
No,
you
we're
at
not
all.
going to go out to the bar and have a couple drinks together.
Fair.
Yeah.
Understandable. Makes sense. At least not without you paying for it.
Right? Yeah. Exactly. And yeah.
That makes sense. Do you feel like you keep cuddling separate more than like, and because I know you said like if you cuddle, unless you're gonna pay more, right? Like you're staying like in my cuddling group. Do you feel like you are very strict, like that is more like that than your other types of sex work?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Do you feel like you said, I know you said like because people expect like the same price and whatnot, do you feel like that's like a miscommunication on people understanding what cuddling's supposed to be? Because I know we've talked about a little bit how like cuddling's not really a sexual thing, but there's like a sexual connotation with it. Yeah, what are your thoughts?
I do think that people have a hard time. I don't really understand why, but it seems to be a very common thing, but particularly with men. The cuddling, they feel like the touch is supposed to lead to sex.
Okay.
Like they're expecting it to.
Okay.
And it's something you got to be like, nah. And like I'm open to it more, but you need to vocalize it, and then you need to pay.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I try to keep it. I forgot the question.
That's okay. Just kind of getting your ideas on like why people have trouble with keeping the cuddling part separate from your other work.
I think the issue that people have keeping it separate is that they're coming to me because they're touch starved.
Okay.
They want some kind of connection with somebody, because a lot of the people that I meet are socially awkward, maybe not the greatest people skills, you know, don't have a lot of time to spend in a dating scene kind of thing. So they're touch starved. They want some kind of affection. They want some kind of something. So they get the serotonin flowing in their brain, and then their body wants more.
And that next step would then be for them thinking, now we're going to go into sex or like more physical or.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. I understand that. I've never had to think about it this way. So it's really nice to kind of, you know, I never thought about cuddling as a thing. I like to cuddle, but I'm a very I want to cuddle with the people that mean a lot to me, right? If I cuddle with other people, it kind of just feels weird. They move and I'm like, I'm like,
and like I have that too. I definitely would prefer to cuddle somebody I actually like instead of somebody that's paying me. But
yeah,
you know,
I think most people would.
That seems normal.
Yeah. I'm sure even the people that pay for it are like, oh, this would be nice if we were just friends. And you're like, well, you have to have good community skills to be able to have friends.
It's true.
I'm not trying to hate on people that do buy it, but it is like a thing where you like, as I'm listening and realizing, I'm like, you have to be very unable to generate a conversation with someone to create a friendship
Yeah.
to need this service in the first
Mhm.
place, which I feel like just speaks out about like mental health in a wide variety. I mean, all sex work really does speak to like mental health of people doing it
Mhm.
and people who are looking for it.
Mhm.
But like especially because it's such like I think a lot of people would think, wow, cuddling is such an easy thing to be able to get from someone, right?
Yeah.
Like you have friends, you have family, like somebody you would think would be
Yeah.
willing to like sit with you or like, you know, watch a movie and hang out with you. And
Mhm.
but especially with COVID, I feel like it's just not a thing
Yeah.
that, you know, I think we were already leaning into that. COVID definitely blew up a lot of the problems we were having
Mhm.
before. But I'm like, I feel very lucky to know that like without going through sex work that like that was my mindset, was like, wow, wouldn't people just be able, right? Because like I'm like,
Yeah.
clearly I must have good communication to be able to create friends.
Well, you're easy to talk to. You
Yeah.
have a lot of energy.
Thank
You're
you.
really engaging, so it's different. A lot of the clients I get aren't that.
Mhm.
They're really closed off.
Mhm.
They're nervous a lot of the time when we first meet, and I mean it's understandable. You know,
Yeah.
it's a new human, and I forgot what I was gonna say again.
That's okay. I do that all the time.
But no, and like when what you mentioned about family, the kind of closeness they're looking for, the family's not going to give.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, society is not to the point where friends can do it either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would very much agree with that. It's hard to explain to people how I see relationships because I grew up in a very monogamous religious family.
So did I.
Yeah, I was like, I'm pretty sure you did too, if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
And so I I knew what I was supposed to do. I tried to do what I was supposed to do and get married and have a job and go to school. And at every turn that I tried to do that, it just messed with me.
Mhm.
I hated it and I found myself, you know, spiraling out of control and messing up my own
Mhm.
life to just get out of that situation. And it's like at some point you have to accept that like that's just not going to work for you, which I luckily we figured that out eventually. And now we have
It
to
took
work on
time.
there's a lot more to work on after that. You know, once you figure it out, it's not just figuring it out. Then you
Yeah.
got all the things to deal with afterwards. And it's like I see relationships and I see a person and I'm
Mhm.
like, whatever it is that you need, if we agree upon it, that is our
Yep.
relationship. I don't, you know, if we need to cuddle, if you need a kiss, if you need to hold my hand, that is okay. That doesn't mean we're partners.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother conversation.
It's a complicated conversation.
Yes. And because, like, I mean, I just went on a road trip down to California for a week with one of my partners. And, like, we talked the whole time for
Mhm.
an entire week. And it's like, and I still feel like we didn't get to everything. I
Yeah.
still feel like there's things we're still dealing with and talking about. And I mean, that's just relationships. But in polyamory, especially, which I also find that a lot of people in sex work are polyamorous and gay. I just
It
think
I
that's
feel
interesting.
like polyamory makes it easier to be in relationships and sex work.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. And you know, I know that I don't know if you've had experiences where like cuddling with people have messed with other relationships for you, but I know that I've met people where like sex work has done that, where
Mhm.
dancing has done that, and I feel like I don't if you have any experience with that.
Not a lot. Most of my time I've spent doing cuddling or sex work, I've been single.
Okay.
The few partners I have had, most of them have been iffy about it.
Mm.
Um, one of them, it did not go well at all.
Yeah.
Uh, and like I try to be clear with my partners, like, I don't do monogamy. It doesn't work for me.
Mhm.
And it's easier to not be monogamous with my work, and I'm not going to stop doing my work.
Yeah, you got to pay the bills.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And this particular person was okay with it in theory until I had my first client while we were together, and then yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I didn't want to assume, but I was gonna say like what
Mhm.
I feel like is even though that seems like such a simple thing, right? I bet a lot of people just that would bother them so much because they're like they
Mhm.
feel like you're giving more. You know, it may not be physical, but it's like one of those things I've heard people say it before. They're like it was emotional cheating, right? And I'm just like,
No. No.
No,
Come on.
I know. I'm like, I really disagree with that statement.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, then me loving my mother would be emotional cheating. So
Yeah. I find it frustrating that so many people get jealous about sex work or cuddles or anything because I wouldn't be there if I wasn't getting paid,
yeah.
you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah.
And when I go and spend time with my partner, I'm doing that because I want to spend time with my partner. There's no obligation. There's no
Right.
nothing. I want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And when I go and meet with a client, it's because I'm being paid.
Mm-hmm. This is money. This will pay my bills. I get
Mhm.
to eat tomorrow because
Exactly.
you're giving me money. Yeah.
Yeah, and for partners to equate that with cheating in any sense
Mhm.
is weird.
I feel like a big thing I'm probably going to bring up a lot on like every podcast is the business side.
Mhm.
Now that we're talking about that a little bit, like I think it's really interesting that people don't see sex workers, cuddlers, pole dancers
Mhm.
as business people.
Cam
They
girls.
have to set up their schedule. They have to pay taxes. They
Mhm.
still have to figure out how much money is it going to get me through the whole month. How many things do I have to sell then? At what
Yeah.
price do I need to sell them at?
Mhm.
And there is no for sure that people are going to do it, just like any small mom and pop shop that
Yep.
you see walking down the street that sells cookies or whatever. They're doing the same thing
Same
that we're
energy.
having to.
Yep.
The only difference is that it's just a different group of people.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, I see myself as a business person. I've seen myself as a business person since I've opened up my OnlyFans, which was like a few years ago when
Mhm.
I made nothing on it,
Mhm.
you know? And like, I see you as a business person. I see you
Yeah.
as like a business owner. Like you have to do that. How do you feel? Do you feel like you've always felt like you've seen yourself in that business person sense?
Yeah, I'm not great at the business person part.
Mhm.
Like I don't have a very strong internet presence. Like
Mm.
even in my personal social medias, I don't have a lot of presence there. Um um but I do I do have like an entrepreneur feeling to it because I am doing all my own advertising. I'm doing all of my own booking. I'm doing everything.
Mhm.
It is, I am a small business.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm. And you put a lot back into the community, more than probably most people do, honestly.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, Sky, thank you so much for coming in, being my very first guest. I really, really appreciate it. Thank
Yeah.
you for talking to us about cuddling, some
Mhm.
other little things, and just chatting. We'll make sure to have some of Sky's links, or link. I believe you have just the one page you said,
I
and an Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I sent you the one for my full service too.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll make sure that you guys can find those if you are interested in supporting her. I always use they, them because I'm always trying to be.
It works.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, if you are interested in supporting Sky and or interested in trying out cuddling for the very first time, I would like to put this little disclaimer. If you're going to harass my friend or be mean in any way, shape, or form, that I would be very inclined to take legal action against you. So please be kind. I appreciate it. And with my Elite Production Studio agency, we are still doing the calendars. They're going to be out in December. If you would like one, we're going to be selling them for $20. And we're doing pre-orders right now, so they're not printed. And if you are a small business here in the local area of Portland, Oregon, we would love to have your advertisement on our calendar. So please contact us about what that would look like before they get printed. And then for the podcast, if you would like an ad right here at the end where I get to call out your business, send us a DM. We're also still looking for sponsorships, so if you would like to support any of my businesses, I would love to talk to you about that. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Comment, what would you like for us to talk about next? Look for a new episode every week. You can find it here on talkcastpdx.com or any of my social media. And until next time, I'll see you later, freaks.